Hello? Choose your tools wisely. We want to draw very, very lightly, so make sure that you have either a 4B pencil or a lead pencil that will draw very lightly for you. Our objective is to draw the fall season, or something that represents the fall season. Don't forget the title. This is the fall season. You will write it down on your paper. Make sure your paper is laying down. Write the letters one by one. Take your time. Don't forget to leave space between the letters. Between the words. And remember that the fall season is for changes. There will be changes in nature. Trees will change colors. Their leaves will turn from green to brown, yellow, orange, sometimes even red. Those leaves, as soon as they have changed colors, they will fall off the trees. So there will be that and a lot of wind actually. This one drawing will be a little bit like the one I just showed you about the kid in the costume, except that I think I'm going to draw instead a tree and a tree house. The tree trunk will take up about half of the paper, and the rest of it will be taken up by the tree branches. I open up two lines, almost like a letter Y, and every branch will be pretty much like the letter Y, except that the tips of the branches are pointy, and when you get closer to the tree trunk, you get a little bit thicker. So again, another letter Y. It's pointy at the end, and it gets bigger when it's closer to the tree trunk. And you keep doing that until you fill up the tree. Now I'm going to draw a horizontal line, and that's going to be the tree house. If you find that the tree house would definitely not be supported by the branches that you drew because maybe they're too skinny, make sure that you draw them thicker. And this is in part why we are drawing very, very lightly, so that if we find that things are in our way, we can always just erase and move things around so that the drawing makes a little bit more sense. At the top, I'm drawing a rectangle that sticks out of the house so that it looks like a rooftop. And I'm erasing anything that I don't need anymore. And I'm going to draw an entrance in the shape of a rectangle. I guess you could get fancier and draw a door eventually, or maybe some curtains, just something that is there in the way. But I'm just going to leave it like that. Now I'm going to move that branch because I want to make that entrance easily accessible for anybody. Also remember that we have to draw a ladder that is climbing up all the way up to the entrance. Right next to the entrance, a window in the shape of a square. And I'm okay with this if the tree branches are in the way. The next step will be to fill up the house with horizontal lines. It will become a pattern because you are going to be repeating all of those lines and you're leaving the same space between each of them. The point is to make it look like wood slats and that it's more or less repetitive and even. This ladder will go from the entrance all the way down to the floor, except that we're not drawing stick figures here. I need two long but skinny rectangles. That way it looks a little bit sturdy. Again, this ladder is not going to be made up of stick figures, nothing like that. It needs to be two long rectangles. And I made sure that I left the same space between those two long rectangles. And now I can start drawing the steps between them. I'm trying to leave the same space between each of the steps because I want to make this ladder look like it is safe and sturdy. Very easy for a child to climb up all the way to where the treehouse is. Now, if I wanted my drawing to look a little bit more on the creepy side, because I associate the fall season with Halloween, then I could make that ladder look more dangerous. one of the steps could be missing, parts could be broken, or very, very pointy. Every time you're drawing, well, no, not every time you're drawing, but let's think of haunted houses when you see them in cartoons. They usually have very pointy corners, they're very tall, they're really big. They look dangerous to be in. You never really think of round or short one-story houses as being dangerous. So you don't think of safe things as haunted, not really. So again, my ladder looks very safe, looks very sturdy. Even though the tree looks very pointy because it lost all of its leaves, I think everything else is still looking good. Speaking of leaves, I am drawing a small triangle at the bottom, and I'm going to fill it up with a pattern of leaves. But do not get into this trap. Do not draw tiny little leaves. Draw really big ones. If you draw really tiny, small, itty bitty little leaves, it's going to be really, really awful and long to color every single one of them. So don't fall into that trap. Draw big. Big leaves are going to take you less time to color. So I'm going to fill it up with all of these leaves. Each of these leaves I'm trying to put into like very close to each other. I'm trying to not leave any spaces in between. There can be some overlapping as well, but again, that would make it a smaller leaf if there was more overlapping than what I have going on right now. I'm going to practice drawing an oval horizontally, just laying down on the ground. That's going to be a pumpkin. And then notice what I'm going to do for each of those ridges. At the top, there's the stem. And then below, I'm going to open up the line. And I bring it back to my finger. Open up the line and bring it back to my finger. That's one way of drawing each of the ridges on a pumpkin. Pumpkin, squash, and zucchini, and there are others as well. There are other fruits and vegetables that are in season during the fall season. That's why we get to enjoy them constantly, and we get to see that in restaurants, like a pumpkin latte being offered or a pumpkin pie, because we have so many of them during the fall season. We also get to enjoy a lot of these specific foods during holidays like Thanksgiving, or in Mexico, Acción de Gracias, Día de Acción de Gracias. Now I am adding more details in the background. Remember that the more big items you put there, the less that you have to worry about coloring very straight, really nicely. And here's a moon. Now it's full. I'm drawing another circle next to it at the edge, and I can turn it into a crescent moon. Remember, the more big things you have in the sky, the less that you have to worry about coloring it. In my next video, I'm going to show you the process of painting this whole drawing using coffee and a paintbrush, and then I'll talk to you about the results. Until next time, bye bye.